What's up, everybody? We are here with Stevie Archer, the Regional Chief Creative Officer for MNC Saatchi. Stevie is here with me at the MNC Saatchi house at Cannes in the villa up on the hill. Thank you so much for inviting me. And thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is going to be fun.
Let's do it. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at the agency. What's going on?
Yes. So I'm the Chief Creative Officer of the North America region. So it's a newly created role that's sort of integrating all of our specialisms and capabilities. So I get the fun job of sitting across all of the creative output that we do, which is sort of one of my favorite things, because I think as a lot of creative people like to play in a lot of different sandboxes. I've always liked to have as many tools at my disposal as possible. So it means I get to sit above, integrated brand, sport and entertainment, which includes PR and creator marketing and passions. It means I get to even work with our consulting group, taking on work from there and then turning the corner into building, brand campaigns off of that, and social issues and impact as well, which is a really incredible, part of our business too, where we're able to not just make change for businesses, but for businesses and organizations trying to create behavioral change or social impact or even policy change. So it's really like, gamut of a lot of things that I get to do.
That's awesome.
And it's really fun because I'm also the type of creative that came up in advertising when the media landscape has shifted incredibly dramatically in the last 20, 25 years, and sort of being able to cross over different categories and different types of media and different ways of thinking is sort of how you have to do it now.
Yeah, there's almost I think I talked to somebody the other day that said they have to version 660 versions now for a campaign for one asset.
Yeah. And then there's versions.
Thank God AI is coming.
Oh my God. There's versions. And then there's who are we when we show up in social media? Who are we when we show up with creators? Who are we?
Different alterations of the brand.
And sort of being able to understand a brand as not just I feel like it used to be we're a monolith. Mm-hmm. We pay for impressions. We tell you who we are. And this is what we are about. And now it's a mosaic.
Yeah.
And there's so many different levers to pull that have to all kind of both work together and work in, to build each other. And that's sort of what I think the really interesting part is. I
think also in the race to personalization, a brand is different to everyone.
Yes. And that's a really challenging thing to figure out is how do you mean something when you mean something different to everybody?
Yeah.
And it's what is the part of you that stays consistent, and what is the part of you that is contextually relevant, culturally relevant, personally relevant to the different audiences that you have. And that's, I think, where it gets really challenging as marketers dealing with that. Who do we want to be today? Who do we want to be next year? Who do we want to be in 5 years? And when the world is changing and people are changing, and there's so many different audiences, what stays true and what shifts?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think I was at an agency activation yesterday, just uploading videos, and I got to basically eavesdrop on Chief Creative Officer of a global holding company talking to the Young Lions students that they had, and that was actually very fascinating. But she talked about the idea that the insight has to remain true across regions, versions, segmentation, affinities. As long as the insight and the message remains true, the cultural differences can change. So for me, it's I want to see, if I see an ad about a truck, I want it to tap into the idea that's going to make my life as a surfer easier to get to the beach and things like that. But the core insight of, whatever that truck brand is bringing to the table and what they stand for, if it's Ford built tough or whatever, that translates, to me or a construction worker or a
mom.
Mom, exactly. Yeah, totally. Whatever
I feel like a couple of years ago, people talked about it's the death of the big idea. And it's not really. It's just that has taken on a different meaning. You still need a big brand, platform that then can be, the insight can.
Someone write some taglines.
Yeah. Or just, I even call it like, I've stopped saying tagline and more like, it's like organizing principle or North Star or ethos, some sort of compass that says, what are we all doing?
Hopefully not a manifesto. Right?
Yeah.
Because we're getting a little tired.
Yes. Yeah. I also like to look at like, it's about like, it's not about a brand ad campaign anymore. It's about it's like brand behaviors. So if we have like certain beliefs that sits at the top of all of that, the thing that we a brand exists for, an organization exists for, but then like, how do we show up and what does that mean we act like? And then therefore, what do we say when we show up and how do we do that? If you think about it as like, how would I behave in any situation versus what do I just market in any situation? It kind of shifts how you can like think about it, is that it turns into, it could be an experience, it could be an activation, it could be something that isn't just an ad-like object, just a way of being, which is how humans are. And then people who are the humans we're trying to reach then understand that a bit better.
Channel is a bit irrelevant.
Yeah.
Come up with an idea that's good enough, right?
Yeah.
That's great. So here as one of the creative stewards of the agency, do you have some panels, some things that you are doing? What are some of the areas that you're exploring from a thought leadership perspective here at King?
I think a couple of things that I'm really interested in and things that I'm part of and interested in are, it's been really interesting to see, of course, you can't escape any conversation about AI. I'm doing it now when I'm just saying that those words is like continuing to perpetuate the phenomenon. But I think what's really interesting this year, even compared to like last year and how that's like transitioned over time, is the conversation. I think the last couple of years was like, oh my God, quick, everybody figure it out. And now it's going, okay.
A little more discipline.
It's a little more disciplined, a little bit like, what does this really mean? How does humanity still play a role? What is it really used for? How do we actually utilize it? Where are the edges? What are the considerations? And it feels a little bit more measured and considerate now that people have like sort of gotten a little bit of the like surprise and, trying to understand it under their belts. So that's really interesting. And honestly, just trying to hear, how it's changing so quickly, but it's also still incredibly complicated, not just in the creative part, but in upstream and strategy and everything, where people are having success, where people are having failures, where all of that is. And I think that's another
Where's it hallucinating? Where
are we hallucinating? And interestingly, I have seen people talking about the failures, which I think is really healthy and important, because then you go, okay, this is where it didn't work and why. And another part of the conversation is about managing client expectations, brand side expectations, because it's learning. It's not just agencies learning how to use new tools. It's clients learning how to use them internally, or to understand how the processes for them are different as a result. It's our job to help clients like understand all the way through idea creation and strategy creation and, work going out in the world, how that's happening, so that they can feel comfortable, like what they're agreeing to and what their work's going to look like coming out the other side. So if we kind of have to equally help manage that, just like we would with any kind of production for anything else too. And that's now more a part of the conversation that I think it has been before. I think another really important area for me is young talent.
Okay.
I think it's become increasingly challenging to, as the industry has moved to more project-based work. There's been so much shifting and so much changing, with brand side and agency side, talent recruiting, talent building, and talent, upskilling only gets more difficult. And particularly with the advent of things like AI, it hasn't fully, affected this yet.
Sometimes those old school jobs of building a media plan mattered for when you got into other roles.
Yes.
Later on down the road. Like doing hard manual labor sometimes is the reps you need to understand the concepts, themes, and just how to do things.
Yeah. So that there's sat in many conversations where people are talking about like, oh, well, AI will do the grunt work for us. AI will do the stuff that we don't want to do. And our real value is now going to be taste level curation, editing, elevation, but it takes, you have to know how things are made. You sort of have to know craft in order to then be able to do that. So how are we as an industry figuring out how do you continue to train young people, again, brand side and agency side, to understand the fundamentals so that when they're expected to be the tastemakers and the creators of the future, that they're able to do that, is equally challenging. And so that's a place that I'm really interested in, is like, how are we as an industry sort of making sure that young talent is still, there's a pipeline for it, that we're educating, that we're learning as leaders how to, help people get the support they need so that we have future leaders, so that we can sleep and take naps.
Essentially. Really important point. And then, the big, what you see a lot of the disruption, or at least the talks around it, is, entry level type stuff. So how do those people find their way to us in a healthy way that isn't, it doesn't feel like the Hunger Games to get into some of those junior roles or even internships and things like that. Yeah.
I think another area that I've sort of been keeping an eye on with, especially as the Glass Lions and Grand Prix and Titanium Lions, but particularly Glass Lions are, in judging and stuff early in the competition. I heard someone say we're in a post-purpose world.
Yeah, I remember hearing a lot of that. I can't remember when, but it was kind of like after the Bud Light stuff and like the boycotts of, the whipsaw of the election and the other direction, some of those
and things. Even our industry, even before that, was sort of moving to this place of like, are we evaluating work that is, has impact and has purpose with the same, is there credibility behind it? Is there effectiveness behind it? Is it actually moving the needle? That conversation, I think, was starting even before the geopolitical turmoil and landscape. And that's only exacerbated it and caused a lot of brands to go, what am I allowed to say? And as someone who within our group in North American and MNC Saatchi overall, we do a lot of work in social impact and issue spaces where it's not necessarily even always the stuff that's showing up in Cannes, because it's real serious. Like in some cases, like policy change.
The stuff that's being showed in Washington, D.C.
Some of that.
NGO fundraiser, things of that.
But we also work with the same clients that you're seeing, getting Glass Lions on stage and going, okay, well, but what am I allowed to do? How do I, as a brand, still have my value that means something both to what I bring to the world from a product perspective and what I stand for and believe in as an organization? And then what am I allowed to do as a marketer? And how can I still stand for something, make a difference, and do it in a way that's effective? And I think that's the conversations we're having with clients. And what you're seeing now too is there's a chaff and wheat situation where brands that were just doing, they jump on the bandwagon, let me game the system, let me get greenwashing, let me get my, Cannes Lion for my program that maybe 4 people saw that didn't really create systemic or behavioral change. And then you have organizations that are in their organization DNA, they believe in something, and as a business, they're committed to it. And those are where you're seeing people have more successes. Like this is...
it all comes down to authenticity, right? That's a contrite buzzword, but it matters so often because, you can just taste it when a company means what they say, or whether they do what they say in their marketing, or whether it's a, CSR initiative, or whether it's like core to their DNA, you just kind of feel it. Experiencing the brand and what you read in culture, what you see, the marketing messages that they put out. I think that's kind of goes back to your transformational, conversation around like, if you don't understand what your purpose is first, it's really hard to communicate that or make any of that stuff stick.
Well, and values have business value very often, and being able to connect those dots and understand how having values actually leads to greater sales, hitting your KPIs and your OKRs and all of the other things. Like that's how organizations really do those things. And
that's it and measure it. Love it. Well, I think that's a pretty good place to stop. If people want to connect with you directly or learn more about the agency, where should they go?
They should go to mncsaatchi.com, and you can hit me up on LinkedIn or on TikTok.
That's it. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yeah. Awesome.